is Becky Buttons with buttonmakers.net, and in this video I'm going to talk about how I photograph buttons. Hopefully this will help you show your products in the best possible way and will help you in your button business. So buttons are probably one of the most challenging items to photograph. Probably the only thing more challenging than buttons would be cars, and for the same reasons. Buttons are highly reflective and highly saturated in color, which is a difficult combination of things. Plus they're also like rounded. So what's happening is they are just collecting all of the light and bouncing it back off at you. Like every single thing in the room basically shows up in your button. When you're looking at instructions online about how to photograph highly reflective items, usually you'll see people recommending a light box or a tent, one of those tents that's got diffusion material on all sides, that you can put lights on the outside, and those work great. Those are fantastic for most highly reflective items. Like as long as they're metal or white, because what's gonna happen when you put your item in a tent is it's still gonna reflect all that stuff. So if it's still if it's white and it's reflecting white, it's like, it looks fine. But if it's like a highly reflective, highly saturated item, it's good. Those white reflections are going to wash out your graphic. If you stop down your camera to the point where you can actually see your graphic and the colors look good and everything, then you've just got a gray, muddy, gross background. And you still got reflections everywhere. So it's they're really challenging to shoot. I am going to show you a simple solution that I have come up with just stuff I got from the dollar store and my iPhone, because that is how I photograph stuff. But you can also use all of these same principles for creating something a lot more pro and using a DSLR. The whole same principles apply. It's really a matter of lighting, or should I say shading. Because really what you need to do here is flag off all the light that you don't want it to reflect. You have to put it in a tent or a light box, but it's like an anti-light box. It's a black tent. And then, fortunately, the buttons are really small, unlike cars, right? So you can have to bring your lights to the inside of your tent. That is how you photograph highly reflective, highly saturated items, and I'm going to show you how I do it right now. Okay, so here are the buttons that we're going to photograph today. Now, as you can see in here, there is all kinds of issues happening. You can see the overhead lights. You can, if you look carefully, there's my tripod. This is just difficult. Traditionally, again, you would use a white diffusion tent, and I'll show you what that looks like on a still image with these with the highly reflective ones. It looks pretty good on the white one usually, but the rainbow ones are a different story entirely. So what I would try first is the simplest solution, which is just popping in a black card over the top of this. So right over the top, I'm holding up a piece of black foam core. And that already actually looks like it is getting rid of most of my nasty reflections. That actually would be a pretty good photograph right there, though the angle's a little bit wonky. And you'll notice that when you go to fix the angle, then you start getting reflections of the camera or your face or your hands in there, and that's a little bit of a problem. So what I've done, I'm going to pull the camera back and show you this card that I've made. Okay, so here's my black card. I cut out a tiny little hole right here for my iPhone, and I just attached this just to help me position my iPhone on top of it. But I basically just go like this. And if you were using a DSLR, you could you know, cut out a hole that's just big enough for your lens. That would be the same thing. And this is actually really sloppy. The less sloppy you do it, the better your photographs will be. This side of the card is almost completely unacceptable. I don't know if you can see that on this camera, but it's like got all these ridges. This side is smooth. If I photograph it for this side reflect down, my button will show all these lines. This is actually not a very good example. If you do this at home, try to make sure this is nice and pristine, especially on the side that is going to face the buttons. Okay, so again, you want to cut out this hole just big enough for your lens. Anything bigger is going to show up. In fact, this hole is going to show up too, but because it's so small, we can usually it's okay. It's usually small enough to get by. So in some circumstances, like if we're doing it from this angle, I might be able to just pop in my card, you know, and flag off all of my nasty reflections. But in some cases, when we want to change the angle, you're going to have to do a little bit more work than that to get rid of those reflections. And what I have done is I just got this bin from the dollar store, and I had to tape off some of these holes in it to where it's just black down here where it counts, where the buttons lay. And then I put in a white sticker on this side and a white card on this side to help reflect the light and soften the light. And then, like I said, you have to make a black tent, and then you have to bring your lights inside. So I have purchased these little LED lights from Home Depot. I don't remember how much they were, but I think they were like 10 bucks. They're nice and bright, sometimes too bright. So that's why I usually point them facing the white reflector so that it can like bounce back in. The light bounces back in to light up my button. I need my background. Okay. So now we have much more control over these reflections and where the light is positioned, and we're going to make just a delicious looking, professional looking photograph of these buttons here. So again, I position my iPhone directly over this hole here, and I can shoot it. It's a little, I've got some of the lights popping in there. All right, so I'm just gonna take these pictures with my iPhone and show you what they look like. I'll also go ahead and take a couple pictures of the white ones in a white tent so you can see that too, and I'll show you the results right now. Okie dokie, so here are the button photographs that the samples that I just shot with my iPhone. This one is the one that I shot inside the black tent, and I want to just quickly pay attention to the really beautiful color gradation and all the detail that we can see there, and then also kind of how this metal looks here when you have a black card over the top of this whole thing. And now this one is the one I shot inside of a white tent. Now you can see the reflection of the phone right here, and like inside of here looks better maybe than over here. Like, you know, oops, that's the white one. You know, so like they look like two different graphics almost entirely. Like this is just washed out. So the stuff that's like shaded out by the camera actually looks a little bit better. I could have remedied this whole situation by just employing the black card method inside the tent. So the tent would work in certain cases good enough if you also employ the black card right over the top of it. It gets a little tricky with that method if you're doing an angle that's other than right on top of the button, like this one, like we're right on top of it looking down. Like if you were angled any kind of way, Then your reflections from the sides, it's just everything starts to show up in your graphic. And also, again, when you've got just white reflecting everywhere and no black, it is it's going to wash some stuff out. Now, some stuff actually looks really good when it's washed out. Like, look at this metal. Like, you can even see like fingerprints in here and stuff. And you can kind of see the little, like, the phone reflection in there to a degree, but not very much. And like the pin back looks just like, you know, like professional. Like, that is sharp and nice looking. Here is the white button inside of the black tent. So you've got like the pin back is the thing that looks the most different here. And in this case, I actually shot this with a white card over the top instead of a black card because it's a white button. So yeah, so that's the white inside the white tent with the white graphics. Still, I think this one looks a little bit better. It's just sharper. So yeah, here is the black tent versus the white tent. And you can even see like the reflection. There's my a little bit of peachy color, that's my skin, and the phone, and then the phone reflection there. So again, like, you could remedy this by, like, you could achieve this exact same look inside of a white tent by just using that black card over the top of it. But again, if you were at a different angle, you'd need black cards all over everywhere. So by that point, you might as well just use a little bin, a black bin from, or a black box of some kind from the dollar store, and popped your lights inside, rather than going through all that trouble, you know, popping up black cards everywhere. All right, well, I hope this makes sense. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And again, I hope this helps you photograph your buttons in the best possible way. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Thanks so much for watching.